moving forwards. I think as long as you're not just like sitting around being like, oh my God, this was like the worst thing. And I think as long as you're doing things that make you feel like you're being productive, and I think staying productive is like the most important thing during this time. So luckily we've had an album to release, so we've been doing that.
That's true. You guys have got a lot. I'm sure you're doing a lot of talking, a lot of prepping for that, and anyway, because you're holding the line. Was it important to you that the album continues to stay on course? Because a lot of your contemporaries and peers have been kind of delaying and moving things back, but you guys have put so much effort into getting this ready, and your fans are ready. Were there any second thoughts about timing on this?
I know there was no second thoughts from us. I mean, there was two sides to it, where it was like, the fans obviously would have been a bummer for them not to have it. It felt unfair not to give fans an album they've been waiting so patiently for. Then also, it was kind of, we were ready for it to come out. Like, we really wanted people to hear it no matter the circumstances. And we kind of just tried to look at all the positive aspects of putting it out. And yeah, it wasn't really a thought whether we wouldn't put the album out. Like, people have been waiting for it. So
another reason why we release it as well is just because it's a source of light and positivity for some people, and especially amongst these times. I think it was important to release music. I mean, we need music more right now than I think ever. So yeah, might as well. Hey, never a true word said. I think it's a summer. So I'm excited to be able to stretch out this hour. Fans are thrilled to be able to hear your voices and to connect. And it was important in doing these that we got a chance to share music, and it wasn't just us yabbering on, because there's enough of that going on. And I asked you guys to put together a playlist, and it's so epic. We just played Wildflower. We'll talk about that in a minute. We did that because we love it. But we're going to start your playlist with the one I can see, which is Tame Impala, Let It Happen. An important message for right now. Fellow countryman as well, and crew. Oh, yeah. I mean, we're big fans of Kevin Parker. We actually saw him right before we were quarantined at the Forum, and he put on an amazing show. So yeah, we're a big fan of Tame Impala.
Sounds to me like one of the boldest sort of musical moments on the album Wildflower. Is that fair to say, Luke?
no, I think it's definitely one of the boldest and the brightest on the album. It's definitely excuse the pun, a bit of a wild card on the album. I think those big harmonies we're going to start doing a lot more, and it's just a different way we're trying to expand what we can do as a vocal group. And this, I love the way Wildflower does this, and kind of, because Red Desert does it in a kind of more a darker way, and Wildflower's like unapologetically bright and bold. I love that about it.
It's like four Matt Bellamy's or something, you know? It's got that muse harmonic thing that he's really good at doing, where he just comes out and takes that inspiration from a Queen or whatever and throws you deep into, you know, this kind of, I don't know, it's like a magical kingdom. Whenever you put harmonies like that together, it becomes a kind of Wonka world.
Definitely. I love that. I'm going to start saying that instead of unapologetically bold and bright. I'm going to say it's like a Willy Wonka. What do you say?
A Willy Wonka
Magic
world.
Kingdom.
It's a magical kingdom of Wonkiness.
I like that.
I'm seeing a thread, gentlemen, through this playlist, at least song title-wise and selection-wise. There seems to be a yearning for the outdoors, a desire to live in the moment, to try to capture the energy of life, even though we're all kind of separated and trying to find new ways to come together. The next song I want to play, I mean, I'm just going to kick the fucking doors in, boys. I mean, Morning Glory. Who picked Oasis? Who picked Morning Glory? Is that like a band select?
Yeah, that would be a band selection. I think that's a thread for all of us. I think for Oasis, I mean, what a great songwriter, but also the dynamic between the two Gallagher brothers. It's something so special between them, but also something that can be so destructive. So I thought it's just an amazing dynamic to create such a beautiful piece of music.
How would you, I'm not going to ask you to do it to each other, because that's just a fucking band fight waiting to happen, and I can't do that.
We'll do it.
Okay, sweet.
Okay, sweet. I'm ready.
Sweet, let's do it. I want one word or one phrase to describe, and I'm going to pick who describes who, around the debut album. Not who you are today, because you're all grown up into mature, thoughtful, compassionate, empathetic, successful young men. But who you were when you first made that debut album. Michael, just use one word or phrase to describe Ash when you guys were making that debut album, like a difference.
Ash was, I'm gonna say relentless.
Relentless.
go.
All right, now, just a couple of words on just to qualify that. Why?
He was like, I mean, we've spoken about it in like tons and tons of different interviews, but from the beginning of this career, he was sort of like the driving force in the whole thing. You know what I mean? I specifically remember back then he was like basically the person running our social media because the other three of us were just too stupid to do it. I don't know, but he was running that. He was like pushing forwards on like getting us in sessions with people, and I mean, like, he was 18 and he's like, I want to write with Max Martin, and they're like, okay, well, I don't know about that. So,
right. So
stuff
you had
like
this
that.
relentless ambition to push through. I love that. Ash, can you describe Luke at that moment when you were making the debut album versus how he is now? What was one observation of who he was then that was unique?
Covered in acne.
Luke, you can't answer your own one. Luke, you can't answer your own one. It's not the rules. It's not the rules. Ash, you're up.
One word.
Or a phrase.
I mean, Luke had that vocal tone that was really surprising for someone that came from where we came from. When I met Luke, it was like he wanted to do rock music, but he had a very soulful voice, and I thought it was fascinating that he wanted to do rock. He sounded like an R&B singer or something.
Like Patrick Stump. And that's funny, you've always reminded me a bit of Patrick Stump, because he has this kind of soul R&B tone, but he's in a rock band.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's sweet.
And that was really inspiring because I kind of hated Blink-182 at the time. I didn't
Just
like
the guy who looks more like he's in Blink-182 now than anybody else in the band. Just now.
Yeah, just now. And I was just more into like bands like The Living End and Green Day and stuff like that. But I also was really into pop music, and I heard Luke's voice and I loved his voice. So I thought that could be a cool band to be in, and he could be a great singer. And then what was the second question?
I preferred Covered in Acne. We'll move on. We'll come back and we'll talk to the other guys in a minute. Right now, we're going to play some Portugal the Man. This is Live in the Moment. Another important message. 5 stars, you're killing it with the communication through song title.
5 seconds of summer selects.
Portugal the Man, joining some Oasis, we play some Tame Impala. We were asking the various members of 5 Seconds of Summer just to kind of go back, because we were talking about debut albums and what their sort of prevailing memory of each member was, of each other was, at that moment when you're making that debut album. And Luke, I mean, you're looking at Cal right now. I mean, who was he compared to now back then?
Who was he? I remember Callum, particularly at the start, before we all kind of dabbled in songwriting, but Callum was the first person in the band to come in with like, hey guys, we're a band and we need songs, and here's a couple full written songs. And we're like, oh, sick. I don't know. He was definitely a little quieter, myself as well, but like a bit quieter in the early days. And then he would like come in and be like, hey, I got this beautifully written song. I'm 15, but I understand my emotions somehow. Yeah, it's definitely a songwriting inspiration.
Let's go full circle, Callum. Let's go back to Michael. Who was he when you made that album?
The word I would choose, it sounds like a silly word. It's charisma. Ooh. Not necessarily it's due to his personality as well. Like, has a lot of charisma, but especially within his style of guitar playing. I think he's really, from a very young age, he had natural charisma in his guitar playing, and I think that's so important, especially as a lead guitarist, to develop your own lane. I mean, there's so many great, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Tom Morello, Michael Clifford's up there, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, Michael
feels like blasphemy.
Michael, who are your guitar heroes? Who are the people that you love listening to when you were learning how to play?
Honestly, a lot of the guitarists that I liked were all sort of people who didn't traditionally play good. You know what I mean? They weren't oh, this is a good guitar player. I actually liked the way that Tom DeLonge played guitar, because it was less about look at me, I can shred, and it's more just this is this song, and then my favorite guitarist of all time is Jimi Hendrix, who probably is everyone's favorite guitarist, and if he isn't, he probably should be. But I liked the way that he the way that he played. It wasn't about ooh, listen to each individual note. It was more of just that's the kind of feeling that they were trying to convey through their guitar playing. So sort of non-traditional stuff. Cal, that was a lovely answer, man. Thank you.
Yeah, that was all lovely answers. I was expecting for way more dirt McGirt than that. I was like, the only one who even surfaced it was Luke, and he dissed himself. You guys suck. All right, we're going to come back with 5 Seconds of Summer in a minute, but we're talking guitar players, which is a perfect chance for us to ramble on with Led Zeppelin. Here we go. 5 Seconds of Summer, selected music. It's good to connect, fellas. It's meaningful. We've been doing these kind of FaceTimes with people in the last week or so, just picking some of our favorite people to chat to and seeing what's going on. And I suppose, moving away from music talk for a second and just kind of talking about how we're all adapting. Who's kind of got the survival tips going on the best in the band? Who do you think's got the most stocked fridge right now and the most stocked pantry and larder? Who's most likely to be most prepared?
I mean, I started a garden. I'm doing the whole thing, man. I'm ready to be locked up in it for a year. I'm growing all types of vegetables.
You're growing seeds? You in the seed business?
I have a lot of seeds. I got seeds for all seasons. I got tomatoes. I got spinach. I got beans. But I hate going to the grocery store right now. It's like the most high risk place.
Yeah, it's anxiety inducing. And every time I'm there, I'm so grateful for the people who are doing the shift work and doing the work.
Really, man, it must be a scary place, man.
It's incredible. All essential businesses right now that are pushing things forward and keeping us stocked and alive and as comfortable and healthy as we can be. Deserve maximum respect. We're going to come back, continue to chill with 5 Seconds of Summer right here, and probably one of the most unorthodox interview scenarios we've had as a 5-member band. We're gonna play a little bit of Coldplay and Magic.
This album played a pivotal part in my life. I feel like the last time I broke up with my last girlfriend, this was the album that I listened to. This was the breakup album, and I thought it was so beautifully written, the whole album, and it basically lived with me for a year and a half, and really made me gain a new respect for Coldplay. I mean, they're one of my favorite bands anyway, but to be able to pull off this type of sonic for 10 songs and for me not to be, critical of it is I think is special.
Call it magic.
We were talking before, team, about kind of who's stocked and who's stocking what and who's making what. And is anyone learning anything new? Is anyone applying them? How many people right now are trying to learn piano on YouTube? That's what I want to know. Is anyone else? I mean, you guys have got the music instrument thing down, but is any apart from buying seeds and doing a garden, actually in a way, is anybody else sort of trying to do any? And it could be anything. It could just be reading for the first time in a while, like Luke, Cal, Michael.
I've been trying to do more production stuff. I think we all have been trying to do more production. And I've been writing a lot on my own, which usually we do, but try and transfer that into an actual track with a full song as one person, which is very difficult. And now it makes me respect people that do it, like Kevin Parker for whole albums, because it's hard when you have people to bounce ideas off. If you're in a band and you have people to bounce ideas off, you've had a creative relationship for 10 years now. You need that when you're making music to be like, is this good? Am I doing the right? Are we on the right path here? But if it's just you're just kind of like, well, I guess I just have to trust whatever I like and just go with it.
Let me kick a hypothetical at you. Because the album is done. Calm is done. It's coming out. Fans are super excited. We've seen artists like Lil Uzi Vert on The Weeknd follow up albums with other albums and deluxe albums and new songs. There's very, very no time at all. Just bam, have some more. Bam, have some more. 2-part question, gentlemen. Hi, Zane from Auckland, New Zealand. 2-part question. Number one, is there more music that you could possibly release off the back of Calm? Are you sitting on other songs that you could finish and put out if you wanted to? And the second part of my question is, would you ever consider kind of making an alias project, the 4 of you, given that you're all working and producing and have this isolation time to kick around different ideas that aren't necessarily falling into the 5 Seconds of Summer framework? Something that would just be, just a kickabout creative opportunity to do something that just, is different. That's my 2-part question.
It's a great question, actually.
And we'll get the answers off the back of this. This is NXS and Need You Tonight, and we'll get the answers from 5 Seconds of Summer in 3 minutes and 42 seconds.
You want a my kind?
We played classic Australian rock there from NXS, Michael Hutchence, the late great and legendary Michael Hutchence. Need You Tonight, one of my favorite bands of all time. And you know, I was throwing at you a couple of hardball questions before, guys, about releasing music. I suppose the first one was, are you sitting on unreleased songs off the back of the Calm sessions?
We have there's a couple songs that didn't feel quite right. There's one that we did one extra song that came out the other day as kind of a deluxe thing, where if you buy like a dollar of each album sale goes to COVID-19 fund. So we have a few other things, but I don't know. It's difficult to answer. It'd have to be under the right circumstances to be either be a really low key side project, or it'd have to be like something discussed, like Queen, the band, because I feel like 5 Seconds of Summer at this point is such a precious thing to a lot of people and to us, and you have to. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to happen at some point, I suppose, but...
Because you can do it all now, guys. You can produce your records. You can write anything, really, to a degree. You've covered so much musical ground. I mean, now you're like a 4-part harmonic monster. Hello, Wildflower. So it's like, if you sort of take into account what you've learned versus what you knew when you were covered in acne, anything's possible.
It definitely feels like... I think that's what we're trying to take... with every album, we take a piece back of like what we can do and what we can do as like a band, and what new skills can we bring into. When I say I've been producing, I'm not very good at that, but the skill to pick up. It's not a piece to kind of like every time we go back into doing something, you just kind of take a little bit of a piece back from like maybe someone else you're relying on. And as a band, we can continue for another 10 years if we have all those skills, just as a four piece.
Seconds of Summer selects on Apple Music.
What's one of your favorite touring experience as a band, touring with another band? Like, who did you have the most fun with on the road?
I mean, we've been on some strange co-tours.
Okay, strange is a great word. You need to elaborate a bit on the strange side of things.
Well, if you just think about who we are and our influences, and, even like from the songs we've picked, and obviously our influences are different to who we've toured with. I mean, we started our career touring with, the biggest band ever, One Direction. And that was, honestly, I think we could write a whole book about that experience. I don't know if we're allowed to, but...
You're not allowed. No, I can tell you right now.
I mean, they had a fascinating career, man. I think, we saw their first arena shows and we saw their very last stadium shows together. We saw the dressing rooms together and we saw them apart and we saw them from top to bottom. And it was an incredible thing to admire and see and watch them conquer the world like they did. I mean, particularly touring the US with them, we toured arenas with them and then we did their stadium tour, and watching them grow into like stadium performers was insane. What an insane thing to watch. And we had sold about 4 records at the time, and we had a 20-minute set, and all we were doing was getting up there, played 20 minutes, and then we just got to watch them play a 2-hour powerhouse set every night.
It's a pretty sweet gig. I mean, but you dream of playing stadiums yourselves, but getting that 20 to 30 minute slot on a stadium tour and getting, fed for free, little walking around money, getting to play to that kind of audience, you finish work by 7:45. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had our PDs, so we had $180 a week. And then obviously we toured with the Chainsmokers, we've toured with Hot Shell Ray, we've toured with the State Champs, we've toured. So you've got like boy bands, you've got EDM artists, you got pop punk artists, you've got all of it, and it was all fascinating. And I feel like we have so many experiences and such diversity with our touring now.
What was the most mismatched one? I mean, I'm sure there were great people. I'm sure you had a great time. But what was the one where you guys were like, yo, it made me just one show, like a festival or something. You were like, yo, man, this is a hard slog, this one.
Probably, we toured with the stadium rock band 1OK Rock in the US. We loved them, and we were like, man, this is one of the best live bands we've ever seen. We want them to do well in the US. And they continued on to play. They play a couple thousand people everywhere in the US now, but that wasn't necessarily a mismatch. I just don't think people expected the raw power of a stadium rock band to be supporting us. Like, they were a better band than us.
Oh yeah.
They were absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and going into this year of touring, we were gonna have like such incredible artists like supporting us this year, and like hopefully we can still do those tours and stuff. But my fiance's favorite band right now is the band Camino, and she is like completely obsessed with them and plays their music like every day, and they're coming out on the US with us. I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, so when you come out on the road, are you gonna watch us or are you gonna watch them? And then when we're playing, are you gonna wish that they were playing?
5 Seconds to Summer selects music. We're coming to the end of what's been a really fun hour hanging with the boys and just kind of connecting. And so what's the sort of one thing that, you know, you're really looking forward to doing? And let's put the whole music thing to one side, because obviously going out playing shows, getting back in the studio, being 5 Seconds of Summer as a band and seeing your fans is a given. But what's the one thing that perhaps you sort of, maybe you took for granted, or maybe you just didn't spend enough time really admiring the luxury, the day-to-day luxury? What's the one thing once we get out of isolation here that you really can't wait to do?
I don't know. There's just so many little things that I feel like I took for granted, you know, like especially when being at home. Like I'm such a homebody anyway that I would have thought like, wow, quarantine, forced to stay inside. I'm like, this sounds great. But when it happens, you're like, oh, like, is this actually something that I'm actually enjoying? Like, I could be out there, you know, and especially at a time like this where we're trying to release something that's just so insanely important to us in a time that we literally can't get together. I mean, we could, but we shouldn't. So I think just like being able to feel connected with the band in an important time like this, I'm looking forward to that, and I don't know when that's going to be. So FaceTime it is.
Yeah, for sure. Ash, what are your thoughts?
I think diversity in crowd is so important, man, to shake your perspective up, to have important conversations face to face. Human connection, obviously, is what we're driven by. So I miss having, like, you know, I live with another producer who actually produced Red Desert on our new record, and he's the only person I see. And all we do is talk about music, you know, every day, morning to evening. All we do is talk about music, and I love that. And we're both students of what we do, but I miss going to hang out and just talk with people, you know. I miss friendship. I miss the time off. I miss hanging out with the band without doing music.
Yeah, just that human connection. Luke, what about you?
I miss, this is gonna sound silly, but because that answer was I agree with both of those answers, but I miss going to like a coffee shop and getting a coffee, to be honest. I miss that kind of stuff. And you know what I've noticed? I miss a good old fashioned handshake, because you see people now, and if you like, you know, I don't know, have to run into someone if you're like on a walk, or I don't know what's happening or whatever, but then you like want to say hi to someone and you can't shake a hand. Like, you're so awkward. Like, you just stand there and like go, hey.
I know.
Like,
It's all the things that we just kind of were raised to do and now have become things we have to second guess. And my hope is that we can continue to do those things once things come back to normal, and we're not shook about the idea of greeting each other and touching each other in a formal way and being tactile where appropriate, because that's part of humanity, right? Is to hug your friends and do things that we've all been raised to do, that show affection in a meaningful way. And right now we're just being ingrained in this whole stay away mentality. And so I just hope we continue to talk about missing those things so that we're reminded when we come back together that those things matter, should we be allowed to do them.
100%. You put it much more eloquently than I did.
Nah. Come on. It's an authentic, bold, and bright experience. Cal, last words on you, bro. Before we get into this last song of your Selects playlist, what's the one thing you're looking forward to getting back in your day-to-day?
I think there's actually a lot that I've learned from having restrictions. I guess, like, every morning I wake up and the first thing I do now is I go for a fucking hour walk. And that's like something that I would have never done before. And I think it's kind of like increased my mindfulness and awareness towards other beings as well. Unlike in my own circle, and I guess on a universal aspect as well, from not being able to have a physical connection with my band members, it's kind of forced me to communicate and articulate on a daily basis more than I would usually. So a lot of, as weird as it sounds, a lot of good things have come from this, just because I guess I'm in a very privileged, lucky position.
I love that sentiment. The idea that when you didn't have to necessarily be as communicative or as connected because it was just a given, that there's so much more of a reason to do it proactively now, even for someone, because I don't know you from Adam, really. I'm really loving getting to know you. But, you know, you've always seemed like a thoughtful and pretty reserved, quiet human being, at least in promo settings. But even just in this conversation, watching you kind of like, oh, I'll take this one. It's like, oh, cool. Callum's talking. Let's go.
No, exactly. Yeah.
It's been really good to connect with you. I genuinely wish you, all the health and well-being through this time, and, ways to stay sane and stay connected. And good luck with the release of the album. We're 100% behind you here at Apple Music. We're ready to shout about it from the rooftops. We really respect the fact that you're giving the fans and giving us, the music that we'd all be looking forward to. So thanks again for your time, and thanks for the brilliant playlist, gentlemen. And until the next time,
Thank you.
Be well.
It was very sweet.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Dad.
brother.